Having a father means that you have a clear example to follow and even sometimes to copy. But in many cases, most of us didn't have a father and grew up in a single parent household. In this video, I'm talking about a very deep subject that might help some of you guys. When people hear the phrase, grew up without a dad, they usually imagine one thing, sadness. They imagine a child standing at the window waiting for someone who never comes home. They imagine birthdays with one empty chair, school events with one missing face, and questions that never get answered. And yes, sometimes it looks exactly like that, but the truth goes much deeper than sadness. Growing up without a father doesn't just leave an empty seat in the house, it can leave an empty blueprint in the mind. Because a father is not only a person, he is often a mirror. He shows a boy what discipline looks like. He shows him how to carry pressure, how to react when life gets unfair, how to speak with strength, how to stay calm in chaos. He teaches without words, just by being there. Through his actions, a child learns what a man can become. So what happens when that mirror is gone? At first, nothing obvious. Life continues. You still wake up, go to school, laugh with friends, eat dinner, and keep moving. On the outside, everything can look normal. Many boys even learn to smile early. They become funny, easygoing, adaptable. They learn how to make people like them. They learn how to hide confusion behind personality, but inside something starts forming, a silent question: who do I become now? No one talks enough about how dangerous unanswered questions can be, especially during childhood, because children always need explanations. If nobody gives them one, they create their own, and many boys without fathers create the same painful story. He left because of me. I wasn't worth staying for. If I was better, maybe he would have stayed. Those thoughts rarely come as clear sentences. They become feelings instead. Feelings of rejection, feelings of not being enough, feelings that something is wrong deep inside. And when a boy carries that feeling long enough, it starts shaping his personality. Some become people pleasers. They chase approval everywhere because they never received it where it mattered most. They become addicted to praise, attention, validation. They feel uncomfortable being disliked because abandonment already wounded them once. Others become cold. They decide early that needing people is dangerous. They stop trusting, stop opening up, stop expecting love. They wear toughness like armor. They say they don't care, but beneath that mask is a child who cared too much and got hurt. Some become angry, not loud anger all the time. Sometimes it is quiet anger, the kind that lives under the skin, the kind that reacts too strongly to disrespect, the kind that turns small disappointments into explosions, because unresolved pain often speaks through rage when it has no other language. Then there is another pattern few people notice. Many boys who grow up without fathers become obsessed with proving themselves. They want status, money, muscles, attention, success, not because ambition is wrong, but because achievement can feel like medicine. If they become impressive enough, maybe the pain disappears. Maybe success will finally make them feel chosen. So they grind harder than everyone else. They train until exhaustion, work until burnout, chase goals without pause. They become high performers while privately feeling empty. People admire their discipline, but nobody sees the wound fueling it. This is why some of the strongest men you meet are carrying the deepest scars, and society often misunderstands them. When a man is distant, people call him emotionally unavailable. When he is aggressive, they call him toxic. When he is obsessed with success, they call him arrogant. When he struggles with commitment, they call him immature. Sometimes those labels are true, but sometimes they are incomplete. Sometimes you are looking at a boy who had to build himself with missing pieces. A boy who learned masculinity from movies, strangers, athletes, older friends, internet personalities, and trial by fire. A boy who made mistakes because no one was there to correct them early. A boy who had to become his own father before he even knew himself. And that creates a strange kind of adulthood. You look grown on the outside, but inside you still feel like you're searching for instructions. You can make money, attract people, and handle responsibilities, yet still feel lost in moments where guidance matters most. Relationships, conflict, identity, self-worth. Because growth is harder when you had to invent your own map. Still, there is another side to this story. Pain also builds awareness. Many fatherless boys become highly observant. They read rooms quickly, they sense moods, they learn independence earlier than others. They become resilient because life did not offer many soft landings. They learn how to survive disappointment and keep moving. That survival skill can later become power, but only if the pain is understood, because unresolved absence becomes self-destruction. Understood absence becomes wisdom. That is the turning point most men never reach. They spend years blaming others, blaming women, blaming society, blaming themselves without ever naming the real wound. They are fighting symptoms while ignoring the source. The source was not simply no dad. The source was growing up needing guidance, love, structure, and presence, then learning to live without it. And once you understand that, something changes. You stop asking, well, why did this happen to me? You begin asking, well, what did this create inside me? That question can change a life. Once you begin asking, well, what did this create inside me? You step into a level of honesty most people never reach, because pain that stays unnamed controls you from the shadows. Many men grow up believing their struggles are random. They think their anger is just personality. Their fear of commitment is just bad luck. Their need for validation is normal. Their emotional distance is strength. Their constant need to win is ambition. But when you trace the roots, you often find the same thing: a child who adapted to absence. Children are brilliant survivors. They do whatever they must to keep functioning. If love feels uncertain, they become useful. If attention disappears, they become loud. If guidance is missing, they become hyper-independent. If vulnerability feels unsafe, they shut emotions down. Those strategies work in childhood. They become prisons in adulthood. The boy who learned to never need anyone becomes the man who cannot receive love. The child who chased approval becomes the adult who changes himself in every room. The kid who stayed guarded becomes the partner who sabotages intimacy whenever things get real. This is why some men keep repeating the same cycles and cannot explain why. They say they want peace but choose chaos. They say they want loyalty but push good people away. They say they want success, but self-destruct when progress starts. They say they want connection, but disappear when emotions rise. It looks irrational from the outside. From the inside, it is familiar, and familiarity is powerful. The human mind often chooses what feels familiar over what is healthy. If instability was normal during childhood, peace can feel boring. If rejection was common, healthy love can feel suspicious. If you were never guided, structure can feel uncomfortable. So men recreate old pain without realizing it. Not because they enjoy suffering, because suffering feels known. There is another truth many people avoid. Growing up without a father can distort your relationship with masculinity itself. Some men become too soft, afraid to lead, afraid to speak firmly, afraid to take space. They associate masculine strength with danger because the male figure in their story was absent, weak, or destructive. Others go to the opposite extreme. They become obsessed with dominance. They think being a man means never showing emotion, never apologizing, never needing help, always being feared. They build an exaggerated version of masculinity because they never witnessed the balanced version. Both paths come from the same wound. When you never saw grounded manhood up close, you are left guessing. And guessing with identity is costly. You can lose years trying to perform a role instead of becoming yourself. Some men become characters. They imitate confidence, imitate toughness, imitate leadership. They borrow attitudes from influencers, celebrities, older friends, anyone who seems certain. Yet certainty borrowed from others always cracks under pressure. Real masculinity is quieter than performance. It is consistency. It is emotional control. It is responsibility. It is protecting without controlling. It is discipline without cruelty. It is confidence without noise. It is honesty when lying would be easier. No father means many boys never saw that modeled clearly, so they learn the hard way, through heartbreak, through humiliation, through failure, through losing people they loved, through becoming the kind of man they swore they would never be. Pain becomes the teacher that presence should have been, but pain can teach well if you listen. There comes a moment in many men's lives where excuses stop working. You can blame your childhood only so long. You can blame absence only so long. You can explain your wounds for years, but explanation is not transformation. Eventually, life asks a harder question. What are you going to do now? That question hits different when no one rescued you, because some men secretly wait for the father they never had. Not literally, but psychologically. They wait for a mentor to save them, a relationship to heal them, a boss to guide them, a friend to carry them, someone stronger to arrive and finally provide direction. Sometimes help comes, often it doesn't. And that is where adulthood truly begins. The day you realize no one is coming to build you. That realization can feel brutal, it can feel unfair, it can feel lonely. It is also freeing, because if no one is coming, then your future is no longer in someone else's hands. You stop waiting, you start learning, you start reading, you start training, you start healing, you start telling the truth, you start becoming the man you needed. That shift changes everything. Instead of saying, I never had guidance, you seek wisdom. Instead of saying, I have anger issues, you build discipline. Instead of saying, I can't trust people, you learn discernment. Instead of saying, I'm broken, you begin rebuilding. This is where many strong men are born. Not from comfort, from responsibility. They understand life gave them less structure than others, so they create structure. They understand they were not taught emotional control, so they practice it. They understand no one modeled standards, so they define their own. And slowly, the victim identity dies. That identity is seductive because it explains everything, but it also limits everything. The moment you stop identifying only as the boy without a dad, you make room for a new identity, the man who built himself. That identity carries scars, yes, but it also carries depth. Because men who suffered consciously often become powerful in ways comforted people never understand. They value loyalty deeply, they recognize pain quickly, they appreciate peace, they protect what they build. They do not take love lightly once they learn its value. The wound does not disappear overnight, but it stops leading your life, and when that happens, absence loses its power.